Hello, everyone. A very good afternoon to you. We welcome you to the webinar Shadow AI AppSec Strategies for Finding and Securing LLM-Driven Apps, hosted by Bulwark Technologies and Invicti. We would be starting our session by a quick introduction by Ms. Chinchu Sunny, who is from the Invicti product team from Bulwark Technologies. But before we proceed, I would just like to highlight some quick housekeeping rules in terms of all the questions and all you have in the session would need to be jotted down in the chat box addressed to all the panelists, and it would be addressed towards the end of the session. Please do take some time to fill up the feedback evaluation form at the end of the session to help us address your requirements. Please also note that the webinar is being recorded and it will be sent to you as a webinar recording YouTube link at the end of the session. So over to you now, Chinchu. Thank you.
Thank you, Sonali. I am Chinchu Sunny and I am from the Invicti product team at Bulwark. It's a pleasure to have you all join us today. We look forward to an engaging and interactive session. Thank you for being here and let's get started. Let me walk you through our agenda today. We will start with the panelist introduction, followed by Bulwark introduction. Then we will move on to the main topic presentation, the AppSec strategies for finding and securing LLM-driven apps. Then finally, we will conclude with a live Q&A session. We have Mr. Liam as a Senior Solution Engineer at Invicti as our speaker today. And Bulwark, we are a cybersecurity-focused value-added distributor for information security solutions with over 26 years of experience in the Middle East and 9 years in India. We work with 30 plus technology vendors, have a strong network of 750 business partners across the Middle East and India. Bulwark has a proven track record of delivering world-class products and exceptional customer service. We partner with best breed of technology vendors to offer award-winning solutions. Our services are supported by strong partner network across Middle East, KSA, and the India subcontinent. We act as an extended arm for our cybersecurity vendors we represent, driving sales through our reseller channels. Our dedicated sales, marketing, and certified technical team ensure continuous value and support. Now, I would like to hand it over to Liam to take this forward. We look forward to an engaging session with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sunny. Let me start by sharing my screen. So first of all, thank you everyone for joining. For those who don't know me, basically my name is Liam D'Amato from the Solutions Engineering team at Invicti. I've been working with the Invicti team now, I think approaching my 7th year already. I'm almost becoming part of the furniture here at Invicti. Today we have quite an exciting topic, as Sunny has mentioned. Now, basically, whether it's planned or not, it's something that might already be inside of your organization, and that's shadow AI. Over the past years, we have seen tools like ChatGPT, Copilots, Microsoft Copilots that essentially moved from being an experimental tool to an everyday productivity drivers, as we are all know, as we are all using as part of our day-to-day at the same time. But it doesn't just stop there. We are seeing development teams which are embedding large language models from platforms like OpenAI or Anthropic directly into their customer-facing applications, internal workflows, or even automation pipeline. Now you might be wondering, okay, so what is the problem? Well, security teams often are not aware. They're not aware what are the capabilities, where they are lived, what data they can touch, and what are the risks that they can introduce. Just a quick note, when we're talking about shadow AI, this isn't just about an unsanctioned chatbot. It's about APIs calling external LLMs without review. It's about plugin and browser extensions leaking sensitive data. AI-generated code introducing new classes of vulnerability. And business unit deploying AI features faster than governance can keep up. Now, just to set the right expectations today during our presentation, the goal here isn't that we are going to send the message to stop AI adoption. That's counterproductive and unrealistic. But is to make you and your organization embrace it securely, intentionally, and at a scale. I was looking at an article quite recently, a research, in fact, from Morgan Stanley, that says that by 2030, 200,000 European banking jobs would be eliminated and replaced via AI. Now, I don't want to get into the conversation about AI replacing human intervention, but the the gist of the article was that the elimination of these jobs isn't just going to be from the customer facing side, but it's going to be from middle office, back office, compliance, security, all across the organization. And these are the actual guardrails that at the moment are within the organization. When we are talking about guardrails, that is, I would say, one of the most fundamental part of having an LLM within your organization, having the right security barriers that you are able to provide the right controls to your users and to your internal team. But taking a bit a different peak, let's look at how AI-powered applications are changing the landscape. While, first of all, even I had a couple of conversations with clients face to face or even during my calls, I do understand that some of you remain cautious or sometimes even opposed of having an AI integration. No, I don't want to have any AI with my data. I don't want to have the AI as part of the system. Unfortunately, the global landscape is showing a significant strategic investment which is currently being made. And I would like to also make you also reflect even how our own personal habits have changed. I mean, speaking from my end, I was thinking that during the weekend when I was speaking to my wife and she asked me a question where previously, if I had to look back 3 years ago, I used to Google whenever I had a problem or I need to solve a problem. When I used to go through pages, through links, just trying to find the right answer. But nowadays, my instinct has shifted. I go straight to an AI. I'm not looking, I'm not searching for the answer. I'm consulting the AI for a solution. And that shift is being mirrored across the economy. We can all agree that this is one of the most fastest technology adoption in history. In fact, Gartner, they had a study that says that enterprise application by the end of this year will be increased by 80%. That's not that's not a small number. Now that also includes Gen AI or generative AI into applications. So we're seeing that the global landscape is going to be introducing AI as part of their entire ecosystem function in their application. Now to put you into perspective, that number in 2023 was less than 5%. So in just 3 years, AI has gone from a fringe experiment to a fundamental requirement of staying in business. And keep in mind that this goes beyond chatbots at their desk. This is about how companies are building. We're moving towards that agentic AI. In fact, Gartner predict that by the end of this year, 40% of the enterprise application will have task-specific AI agents directly embedded into them. In fact, I can also speak from our own organization, from Invicti end, where we're also at the moment looking into agentic AI scanning, as that is I would say, the wave moving forward. In reality, the industry is not just bolting on chatbots. We're building AI into our ERPs, into our CRMs, into our supply chain. these agents aren't just summarizing text. These are autonomously doing reconciliation of invoicing, managing security threats, executing complex workflows that essentially used to take teams weeks to complete. So you might wonder, okay, so what is the problem? Well, we do have a problem. The thing is that AI adoption is accelerating, but the governance hasn't kept the same pace. We're seeing security, privacy, compliance, and ethical risk. These are emerging faster than policies or framework are being adopted. And what happens when we have an unchecked AI? It can lead to data leakage, model poisoning, IP exposure, and reputational damage. In fact, I was having a conversation with one of our CISOs, one of our CISO and also so colleagues from InfoSec teams that how do we, they're constantly being asked, how do we enable innovation while at the same time staying secure and compliant? Remember, the goal here isn't to slow anyone down, but is to move fast with governance by replacing this risky shadow AI with sanction tools that provide the same speed, but, and this is where we talked about previously, with industrial guardrails. As from our side, we have to be both the enabler and the guardians of AI. Now, essentially, AI can manifest or can come in different shape and forms. And often this is driven by the need of efficiency and innovation. We can take a look at from the customer point of view, where a customer service representative might turn to an unauthorized AI tools to generate answers for inquiries. So there might be a user that opened the ticket, the customer service might grab the ticket information, push it into an unsanctioned AI, unknowingly exposing the sensitive data that could be part of that ticket itself. It could also be an employee that uses machine learning models to analyze and find patterns within the company data. While these do yield very good results, the unauthorized use of AI service, because it might not have been um, within the company approved framework, can create security vulnerabilities. So analysts might use predictive behavior model to better understand customer behavior from a proprietary dataset, unknowingly exposing sensitive information. Marketing, obviously marketing, I have seen tools that do wonders. They boost social media engagement, they email marketing, they're they are improving all across. However, the absence of governance might result in non-compliance with data protection standard, particularly if the customer data is mishandled. It could also be, again, one last example, data visualization. It can create wonders with heat maps, line graphs, bar graphs. While these do boost business intelligence by displaying complex data relationship and insights in ways that it's easy to understand. However, inputting that company data without AppSec approval can lead to potential data security issues. Now, I know this isn't exactly shadow AI when we're looking at vibe coders, but I couldn't just not mention it because this is becoming one of the main topics that we are surfacing. In fact, I was also seeing a study where 80% of new code generated is being done via AI. That AI could be sanctioned. There could be co-pilots that are sanctioned within the organization. But let's also take a bit deeper also look at what are the risks that are currently being seen. So vibe coding, one of the main security challenges of vibe coding is in fact scale. AI tools are generating large, vast amount of code very quickly and modifying the application behavior through repeated prompts. And this creates several risks. First of all, there is less human review because developers may trust generated code without fully checking it. There is more code equals more risks. Large volumes of generated code increases the chance of hidden vulnerabilities. There is the non-developer usage, as we see with vibe coding. Everyone is becoming a developer. Everyone is building apps, and this can be going outside of the traditional engineering or testing review processes. And most of the time, they are unclear. When we are providing the prompts, it's unclear requirements. Like, for example, security. Security needs are often not clearly specified in the prompts, or maybe, but misunderstood. And these rapid prompts or iterations can unintentionally affect authentications. It can even create API endpoints that you have no idea about, or access controls without obvious visibility. Overall, I would say is that the speed and scale of AI-generated development makes security, first of all, harder to manage and to verify. So those are some of the risks, but what are some of the common security? So with this new development velocity, as we can say, what does that actually mean for the applications which is currently being built? And what we found is that vibe-coded applications often share a common security weakness, and that's the scary part. And this could be regardless of language or framework. These issues are typically stem from the way that the AI is generating and assembling the code. So it's not just a single coding error. These are recurrent themes. Insecure configuration. You might end up with a production system accident including debug mode, overlay permissive course, or detailed error message that shouldn't be exposed. We see authentication and authorization gaps. Some endpoints may simply fail to properly verify users, or others might do not have any, will have extensive security. So it's leaving inconsistency. It's leaving a door open. There's the the predictable secrets or the default secrets. This is a big one, and I will also be showing you some stats as we go along, because these models are trained on a massive data set, so they tend to default to the same placeholder. So, for example, for test credentials, it becomes easier for an attacker to try and guess instead of trying to exploit. Because if they guess the right credentials that are currently being used within the LLMs, they can use it against you if you don't override it, obviously. And of course, traditional vulnerabilities still exist. Issues like injection flaws, insecure dependencies, they are still present, especially when components are combined without careful human review. The key takeaway on this is that the risk comes from essentially small weaknesses spread across the system. Now, they might seem minor on their own, but as you quickly add them up, they are not they are not they are essentially increasing the risk drastically. And this is where I was referring to. So what we've done from our side is that we've put vibe coding to the test. So obviously, yes, there's always the theory about it, but we've put it to the actual test. We've generated 20,000 web applications using a variety, just to set the right expectations, using a variety of LLMs, ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, to see what they are actually shipping. First, we ran them through a SAST, and on the surface, the results were alarming. But when we actually analyzed the data, we found a different story, because the vast majority were in fact false positive. When we're looking at AI-generated code, static tools are essentially, they are built for human pattern detection. But when it comes to AI, they struggle because it's unpredictable, it's the inconsistency. They see a risky looking code and they structure and they flag it, even if the code can't actually be reached or exploited in the real world. And this creates a mountain of noise that essentially is burying the few real vulnerabilities that actually exist. But when we looked at the vibe coded, hard coded secrets, that's where the vibe really got real. Remember, LLMs aren't just creative. We can only assume they like to agree with us. They're very repetitive. Because they are trained on a massive data set, they tend, as we said, to default to the same placeholder. For example, super secret key was used across different LLMs and different applications. So that was I would say the common secret. In fact, out of 20,000 applications, 1182 used super secret key as the literal value in the environmental file, in the Docker Composer file, in the settings.py file. And this predictability is a huge problem. Because if a developer prompts for a production-ready app, but doesn't explicitly change the key, you aren't just vulnerable, you are predictable. An attacker, as we said, attacker doesn't need to find the bug. They just need to guess the AI's favorite credentials. So what do we need to do from our side? Now, again, rolling a bit back into shadow AI. Before we roll an AI widely, let's align, I would say, on three simple questions that we need to answer ourselves. So first of all, when we see an AI, we need to ask ourselves, does it belong to us? Does it operate within our security boundaries? Does it follow our compliance policies? Nothing that's going to be typed in essentially is going to be used in the public internet. And that's the difference essentially between discussing a strategy in a locked boardroom versus having it in a crowded park. Shadow AI, we are seeing when we're looking comparing that to shadow AI, employees might be pasting sensitive data into public models without governance. And once that data enters the public model, it's effectively public property. It can't be recalled, it can't be unlearned, and the control basically is gone. The second thing that we need to ask ourselves is that can it be manipulated? And we'll also have an example coming up. In the industry, we call this prompt injection, where it attempts to override safety constraints or extract restricted information. Now we need to be realistic. No system is 100% bulletproof. But sanctioned AI environments are implemented with multi-layer industrial guardrails. And this is where the guardrails will come in, where we'll be able to filter and analyze what the user inputs, filter and review what the AI outputs, monitor for bias, misinformation, or violation, and have activity just currently being logged and auditable. Last one is, and this may be the most important one, is that what data can it access? Does the AI have a higher clearance than the person using it? If the AI can access everything, but the user shouldn't, you just might have created the first internal privilege escalation risk. Because sanctioned AI should respect role-based access controls, data classification policies, and least privilege principles. AI should never go beyond what a human is already authorized to see. As we mentioned, when it comes to no system is foolproof, um, I always like to start with something that, going back to its roots. And I was looking at, first of all, what are some of the AI cyber attacks. So we're seeing a huge AI, shadow AI, especially when it comes to AI attacks. We're seeing deepfakes. We're seeing social engineerings. I mean, we can all agree that what was taught in the past when it comes to checking for spam email or phishing email um, is no longer a technique to look for spelling mistakes. That's prehistoric. Prompt injection, it's what says on the tin, where AI system perform unintended actions, and we've seen that. Reconnaissance, automation, exploitation of vulnerability, the development of malicious code, and the list goes on and on. And I know there was quite a topic on the Anthropic quite recently in the news, but in mid-September 2025, Anthropic had raised the first AI orchestration cyber espionage campaign, where a user managed to go beyond the uh, the LLM or the AI agentic agent guardrails, and with just a few prompts, it wasn't hundreds, it was less than five, if not mistaken, or five max. It managed to attack around 20 different applications. So this is, I would say, the real new service that we might be seeing coming up. So what are the practical steps? So first of all, we have to establish an AI governance committee. And this could be a mixture of security, legal, and compliance team. We need to maintain an AI inventory. So having the option to view what are approved and what is not approved when it comes to the usage within the organization. Develop an AI-specific risk register and foster an AI culture within the organizations, just training, awareness, and transparency. Remember, AI governance is not about slowing innovation, but it's about making sure we can trust it securely and at a scale. So, checklists are quite important, especially with all the new changes that are coming up, and you can simply go ahead and continue on building on top of what you already have. But basically, you need to ensure that you are auditing what is already embedded within your organization. Redefine the responsibility of AI and the analysts that are currently using AI. Keep your AI accountable and reviewable, as we said, including guardrails. Protect against AI misuse internally and also externally. Manage AI's data appetite with strong governance. We have also seen vibe coding, introducing a new level or risk in the service. So automating scanning for all models, all AI models and API endpoints, and prepare, as we're already seeing, prepare for the agentic AI era. Some of the frameworks that can also be quite useful to follow is the NIST AI risk management, is the ISO 42001, the EU AI Act compliance and readiness. So we have seen that there's a bit of a gap at the moment in the market. And this is where we also come in as part of Invicti. Now, I need to, first of all of the things that we mentioned today, they aren't covered all by a single tool. It would require a mixture of solutions to tackle these problems. And in fact, Invicti can play a portion of that solution, where we are able to detect fingerprint and have the ability to scan any LLMs that are currently being used within your organization. We have prompt injection, command injection, output handling, server-side request forgery, system prompt leakage. These all are vulnerabilities that we can essentially test, have them automatically being scanned against your APIs, against your application by simply running a scan. There's also the other point of view where, okay, so yes, we know about LLM scanning, but what about APIs that can be introduced with LLM co-pilots? We can also cover that from our side. We do have, I would say, shadow API detector where we are able to install a network traffic analyzer, whether it's on Kubernetes, whether it's on Nginx, or whether it's integrated through your API management tools. We'll basically be deploying this ND agent, and from there we'll be able to analyze all the successful endpoints which are currently being executed, document them as part of your visibility. Seeing some other examples when it comes to LLM and how they are viewed. So this is becoming the new attack surface of emerging AI specific vulnerability, LLM command injection. Again, I'm just going to show you some other examples. The command injection, where we basically be trying to provide an execution to basically see if we are able to essentially execute it as part of the LLM. Insecure output handling, trying to provide a file to see if the LLM will digest it. But let's jump into a proper demo. Let me just stop sharing for a second. I'm going to share my screen, going to the Invicti portal. And by the way, team, I did not mention it, but if you have any questions in the meantime, feel free to put them in the chat box and we will be reviewing them in the end. So hopefully you're all seeing my Invicti screen. Our Invicti platform, as you know, this is available both on-premise and online. On the on-premise side, it is available on Kubernetes, but we are rolling the window installation coming up soon. The online, as just in case you are not aware, is also hybrid. So the online allows us to scan both internal and also external applications by deploying an agent, and by doing so, we will be able to then essentially start scanning as we go along. Now, following the conversation of LLM scanning to today. So here, in fact, I have one of our test applications. Automatically, the system has detected that there is an LLM AI chatbot detected inside the application. And when we detect that, that is where our LLM security checks will be activated. Now, taking a quick look, so there's LLM command injection, where we can also see the proof of exploits. So we manage essentially to execute an out-of-bound web security vulnerability and therefore get the address and user curl agent. There is insecure output handling, where basically again in this case, this example, let me just take a look on the request and response. Exactly, we managed to in this case we managed to provide a file, and then we noticed that it was able to then be read by the LLM itself. LLM prompt injection, LLM prompt system leakage. So these are all the LLMs, as we have also seen from the slides, or security checks that can be executed and can be detected automatically via the Invicti platform. Now, I know that we already briefly touched base on API discovery when it comes to detection. As we noticed that, as we mentioned, there's also the NT8 network traffic analyzer that's able to detect those endpoints which might be hidden, you are not aware, or they were introduced without your visibility. They can also be detected via LLM engines. That is on Shadow API, Shadow AI today, touching base on, first of all, what is it, what we are seeing in the industry, what are the risks, and how Invicti can help you today when it comes to securing your LLMs within your organization. Again, there's also, as we said, known common issues that we are also checking from our side. So when it comes to Invicti, we don't just secure LLMs, but we also ensure that your application is secure during runtime, because that is where the code, that is where the risk will be exposed. Or we're looking at cross-site scripting, we're looking at injections, looking at missing ciphers or credentials that can be guessed. These all can be automated and provide you with a detailed view of what we did, what is it, how it can be impacted, what is the vulnerability, mapping them also to compliance standards, showing you how the attack was done, and the proof behind the vulnerability reporting. Once the scan has been done, once the security audit has been completed, exportation of reports are also available. Standard and compliance, OWASP top 10, OWASP API, OWASP LLM top 10, ISO. These are all available in both PDF and also HTML format. Perfect. That's what I wanted to cover for today. I'm just going to take a moment now to potentially look at any questions that you might have. Feel free to write them down. I'll be more than happy to go through them together. In the meantime, I'm also going to pass, I think, the mic to Sunny or from our side.
Yeah, we are now open for the Q&A session, so please feel free to share your questions.
So there's a question, can it scan API or code? So essentially from our side, we do scan the API part. We can do both. We can actually, first of all, either provide us with the API specification file. So let me just give you a quick view on that. So here I have one of our test application. So essentially we can either, when it comes to API, we can do two things. You can either provide us with the specification file, and this could be SOAP, REST, and GraphQL. Or we can even create or start to reconstruct, because those are two different things, the API specification file automatically. We can either use our sensorless API. So what this means is that if you have a front end, but you don't have a backend file documented with your endpoints, while we're scanning the front end, we'll start to capture these API endpoints coming to the backend, capture them, document them, and also scan them. Or if you would like, you can also go through a different approach using our network traffic analyzers. Can be installed with Cloudflare, Nginx, Kong, Istio, F5, Kubernetes, basically, and this is the file that you insert as part of where your APIs are running, and any active traffic that we are seeing will then start to capture those API endpoints and reconstruct them. In fact, I have a quick video just to show you in action on how it will look like. So these are my current inventory. I'm going to essentially start to manually execute some of the endpoints. And as you can see here, we can see the heartbeat has been done successfully, and we're sending the SPAC that was detected. If I refresh the page, I can see that it was here on localhost. I can see the endpoints. So again, there are two different approaches of providing us this specification file, either manually or linking it, or to capture it through the traffic. And then from there, we can run a series of attacks specifically looking at API scanning. And thank you for the question also. Yeah, so where is the AI? So there are two different things here. We can either, oh sorry, there was another question which I skipped. Does it support scanning for mobile applications? No, the tool itself, Invicti, we're not able to scan for native Android-based applications, but normally the mobile applications are using the same AIs as the web applications, and that is what we can scan. So we can scan the API section or the API function of the mobile app. I would say as a rule of thumb is that any application which is reached over HTTP or HTTPS, they can be scanned via Invicti. Where is the AI in this case, in the scan, and how can you detect vulnerabilities in previous example, the first one? So there are two different things. There's LLM scanning, as we have seen, where we are able to automatically say, okay, we'll search for fingerprints and we'll identify if the application is making use of LLM or AI as a chatbots. Once we have detected that, we will then start to run a series of series of checks specifically on LLM scanning. The tool itself is also includes AI automation or AI capabilities within it. There is, first of all, the predictive risk scoring. We are basically having the option, we introduce the option that when we are going to first activate the license key, we will look at what applications are available online that might belong to your organization, and will also assign a predictive risk score to every single one of them. And we do this by sending one request, extracting around 220 data points, running it against our LLM model that was trained on thousands of vulnerable test applications, and then provide a predictive risk score. There is the AI for support by standard, enabled crawling, and enabled aided login. This is one of the most two important points. Enabled crawling is basically when we are able to use our an AI engine that we have to essentially check the applications that we're scanning and input the right information for us to be able to avoid getting stuck. So the days of having a multi-language or a complex application that might limit the dust scan because it wasn't smart enough to provide the right information. Like, for example, an airline website might be requesting a ticket number which belongs to their system, and we don't just try 1 to 3, but we can try, for example, RY 1 to 3, for example. So we'll try with the same model that is currently being expected using AI to boost intelligence while we're crawling the forms. The enabled auto login, very powerful when it comes to quick onboarding, where we're able to essentially create the option for us to use AI to log in successfully. So is it required API integration with AI tools, or do we have? So when it comes to AI usage, you do not need to essentially bring your own API, as they might say. We do have our ASPM, our application security posture management, where it can essentially be integrated with multiple tools, let it be SAST, DAST, IS, SC, SCA, and so on. And from there, there's also the element of bring your own LLM. And what it does is that when you bring your own LLM, we are then also able to then use your AI to give you recommendations, resolutions based on the AI that you have integrated. So we also have that not in our DAST but in our ASPM. Very good questions coming out. Perfect. Is there a secret features? Is there any secrets features available in your platform? So any secrets features available in the new platform in the scan config? Yes, we have introduced, I would say, quite recently, an advanced settings for the configuration, which includes, I would say, all of the options available as part of the configuration itself. Now, I I would recommend that these are not configured without knowing what you're doing because they can actually affect your overall scanning. I would say use them wisely or basically use them when the support team have requested you to make any changes. But yes, there is a secret. There is the advanced scan configuration options that gives you a bit more depth and more control into the scan configuration.
Dear team, if we don't have any further questions, I think we can close this webinar. So thank you so much for joining today's session, and we'll be sharing the recording with you shortly. Thank you.
Yeah, so thanks a lot to all the attendees who have actually taken their valuable time out, to attend the session today. As mentioned by my colleague Chinchu, we would be sharing a thank you email with the webinar recording YouTube link tomorrow. And in the meantime, if you have any kind of queries or feedback or any kind of a details or so, which you would like to highlight to us, please do feel free to send us an email or write to us. Our team here would be more than happy to help you out at any point of time. And I would also request all the attendees to please kindly fill up the feedback evaluation form at the end of the survey and the webinar too as well, so that we are clear about your requirements and we can be in touch with you accordingly. Till then, thanks a lot for your time and wishing everyone a great day ahead.
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.